and welcome to a new episode of Carriere Journal de Leadership podcast. My name is Adelina Mihai and I will be your host today. For our today's guest, we have a special guest. He has more than 20 years of experience in leadership, in banking, in management consultancy and in IT, so it's a very different profile, CEO profile. Zdenek Romanek, he is the CEO of Raiffeisen Bank Romania. He's a top-performing bank in our country with more than 9% of market share. So welcome to our podcast.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Romanek, please tell us your career story, because I saw that you started as an IT freelancer and now you are the head of one of the most top-performing banks in Romania.
Yeah, actually, in reality, my first job was working in our village and helping to build houses.
Okay, so in construction.
That was my, as a teenager, I was doing that. And I was working on the roofs.
Okay.
And what I liked on that working on the roof, it's the most complex job on the house, at least in my view. So it's lots of expertise and you are building something real. And of course, then looking at the house as such, well, that was something that was supposed to last. Actually, till now, I'm coming back to see my parents, and the houses are still around. And that was actually the defining moment of my career, because then what I wanted to do all the time, to work on things that are complex, so that they require really some expertise, something that not everybody can do, but building something real. So building something that is real and building something that lasts.
And also having the big pictures from the beginning.
Thank you very much. That's a good analogy. I like it. I will start using it. Thank you.
Okay. So, what did you want to become when you grow up? You know, you started as a building with your hands, the roof. And how did you get into IT? And after that, in consultancy and in banking.
No, that was the logic was clear. Coming from village. To have a good job, you need to have some craft, to something you can do. And that time after the revolution, it was like, IT. So you can learn IT. So you can be really doing something. You have some craft. So you can build things. So that was the starting point. Yes, I want to do IT, to build things, to build complex things, something that other people can't do. But then I realized, and when I moved to Prague, I started to do IT, that there's more complexity I can do. And that gradually led me to applying technology in banking, in financial services. So that was the red team, understanding the technologies and applying them in the context of the financial services.
Okay, but technology is still one of your passions right now, because I know for a fact that you are very fond of AI development. And how can you stay up with keeping up with the latest technologies and AI when you have to lead a bank with complex processes? Because if you want to change something, it's very difficult in a large organization to bring the novelty.
Yeah, but actually these are two different things. On one hand, I have a passion for technology. I always, not just for the technology, but understanding things really hands-on, because in reality, many things are described in a cosmic way, in a very etheric way, but things in reality are much more simple. So if you ask people to show you what they really do, yeah, then they know all the buzzwords kind of melts down and you see, this is it. But being close to technology allows me to have very pragmatic understanding. At the same time, when you ask for innovation and keeping with the trends, I don't feel a responsibility. Like as a leader, this is not my task to be the smartest person in the room, to know the most. The biggest thing is to organize a room where we can take smart decisions, because there is the right set of the people in the room and we are having the right discussion about the right topics.
What school did you graduate? Because I know that that there is a story also here.
Yeah, actually I started to study computer science, but then after 1 year doing computer science, and I was already working during the university for one IT company, and I was thinking, but there there is more to understand. I was looking at my colleagues from the economics university, and I was thinking, well, they understand so much about the other parts of the world, which I don't. So I started to study banking and insurance in parallel. Kind of managed to do both. It was quite tiring, intense learning, but ultimately worth it because I could understand both.
And you also had a stop in the management consultancy business. What did you learn from that part of your career, and you apply now in banking?
Actually, when I finished the universities, then I was thinking I still don't know enough. I would like to find a place where I can really learn. So that was the choice why to join McKinsey and be part of the McKinsey, because I knew that with them I will be learning. And it also allowed me to work in 8 different countries to see how things are done in different parts of the world. So for me it was a big learning, and how you create a very fast big picture, how you adapt to different cultures, how you can structure complex problems into something that all of a sudden is actionable and approachable despite all the uncertainties.
How you came in Romania almost 5 years ago. How did you see Romania and Romanian banking system back then, and how do you see it now? How and what do you think that will be the future of our banking system? Because we have seen a lot of shrinking in the banking system in terms of the number of the banks, because we had, I think, almost 50 banks at one point, and now much less. There are a lot of M&As in this
True,
this sector.
but if you look at the market, in my view, the Romanian banking market is very dynamic. At the same time, all the innovation and the huge investments are driven by top 10 banks. So this is where the speed and the innovation is coming from, because they have the scale, they have the capacity to invest. And if you ask me what, I didn't know much about the market. I came and started to learn very, very fast. And I was impressed already at that time how fast innovation went compared to other Central Eastern European countries, like the adoption of mobile banking compared to other countries, contactless payments, instant payments. So many things went much faster and are happening much faster in Romania and with higher intensity. So I would say that there is a nice advantage that these top 10 competitors are all very, very much fighting for the market. That brings benefit to the clients.
From the cultural point of view, and you said that you worked in 8 countries, which one our culture resembles the most with?
It's a mixture. Like each country, at the end of the day, it's very unique. One thing that we have in common, and it is a lot basically culturally and connecting the Central Eastern European countries, is the post-Soviet history, the communist history. It's a big connection point, because we went through a very similar set of the experience, if I can call it. So this is something which is a nice, easy connecting point between the CE countries.
Coming back to the AI and the new developments in the industry, because every day we see new news about AI and what big companies in this field are doing for customers, for us. I know that you started also a program, AI Wizards. It's for people for your employees to get AI competencies. How is this program going, and what do you think that will be the future of it? How will AI impact the future of banking?
If I'm talking to many other companies, other CEOs, to understand where they are in terms of the AI and really monitoring not just Romanian market, but market and other organizations as well. And there is a huge difference between how much they say about AI and how much they do in terms of AI. So here I see us as one of the organizations which is having a really good pace. So we are really spinning how much do in terms of the AI. in real terms. And the Wizard Pro program basically very much links to that, because really to apply AI across all the organization, you need to build a lot. And one of our realization was it cannot be just IT building a new AI capabilities, because this capacity-wise not enough if you want to change fast. So what we want to do and what we are doing, we are broadening our ability to build through the program of Wizard Pro. So people from business into which we invest, we give them training, we give them the platform, we give them the support, so they can start building. And this is actually multiplying our capacity, how much we are able to build per year, how much new AI agents we are able to introduce into the real production. So the programs goes very well, because we see the capacity and we see the spinning, and we see the excitement of people, because all of a sudden they can do something that they would not be able to do in other organizations, and they see a real impact. And that's I like the term, we start spinning and spinning and spinning.
But as any new product and any new thing that you have to learn, I think that you have also opponents in the company. How do you convince the colleagues that aren't so AI fascinated?
Now, we are working on AI already. Okay, for us it's 2.5 year long program that we started a longer time ago. And of course we didn't start trying to involve everybody at the same time. We had always 20-25% of our people that are naturally interested. They wanted to be part of the game, so they started to define what is possible, and then giving them the opportunity to do things, to give them the investments, the tools. They could show the rest of the organization, hey, this is possible. Actually, it's interesting and it's good. So, gradually, I like this. The word we always move pas ku pas, dar systematic, și mai repede.
During your career, of course, every leader have made some mistakes. What were the mistakes that do you think, one or two mistakes that you think you have done, and what did you change, or what have you learned from them?
I always had this obsession about expertise and knowing things and understanding things. So I was a lot investing into myself, learning. And also ultimately I thought that as a leader, to be able to do good decision, I need to know a lot. And I was overweighting it a bit. And there was a certain moment, the realization, no, I'm really responsible for not being the smartest person in the room, but designing good discussion in the room. Bringing the right people, structuring the discussion, and making sure we make a smart decision, which is very different compared to being as a smartest. So that was a big change for me when I moved to that direction.
So to become more of a facilitator of the...
So you can call it facilitator. I rather call it a design of the room, because there is much more than just to facilitate. Yeah.
So that was one important leadership lesson that you...
It was for sure one. Another one which keeps going, I'm a bit have an action kind of bias. So every year I'm learning how to listen more and listen even more. And it's always paying back. Then I say, I should even listen more. So.
What are your objectives for the following year for Raiffeisen Bank Romania? I know you are on the sixth. You're the sixth largest bank in Romania. You have a market share of more than 9%. And what would be your objective from that point of view, from the business point of view? I don't know if you published yet the financial results, but I think you are working on that.
Sure. So they are not out yet. We have defined for ourselves something which we call our North Star, to be the best financial advisor. There's a big theme for Romania as a market, because Romanians are, both people and companies, are not using all the spectrum of the financial products that they should be using to have a better future, to build better future, if you look on that from the perspective of a family, have your savings, building your pension, using life insurance to start building your savings, and also in a secure way, and so on, working with the investments in a smart way on the longer horizon.
But why do you think Romanians are not using the whole spectrum of financial products? It's the lack of education or the lack of money, or both of them?
Actually, no. It's not a lack of money, because this benchmark it's done in relativity to GDP per capita. So relative to how much money people have, we know how much products they should be using. So it is driven rather by the education, but also by the fact that there was not enough financial companies on the market. That not banks. That's why I prefer not to think about us as a bank. I prefer to think about us as a real financial consultant for our clients. So to work with them systematically on the full spectrum of their financial needs, not just lending, because lending is good for everyone. Like that.
But where can a normal employee in Romania get information about the financial products that are suitable for him or her?
Actually, what we did, we have around 2,000 advisors across the country. We built for them something which we call Smart Finance. It's a technical solution that is on iPad. And it is actually linked to AI, so there are modeling, next best offer, pre-calculated offers for each of our clients. So when the client comes to the branch, our advisor would put the tablet on the table, and jointly with the client they will start looking at the financial profile, the products that are recommended. We could calculate, for example, immediately we know for each of our clients what is their pension. They don't need to tell us. We can calculate it for them, and we can show them. We can show them lots of the modeling, not in theoretical way. So it's not theoretical education. It's very practical modeling. It's a real financial advisory. This is how your financial life would look like if you do what you do by now. These are the things that we can do to do first changes. Pascu pas, dar systematic și repede. So we are very proud of this. Like when I speak of financial advisory, we brought it in such a large scale because it's 2,000 people being able to do it across all the product categories for every single client. It's a lot. So at the same time, the tool as such is very unique. It was developed by a Romanian team. So now it represents best practice inside of the all Raiffeisen Bank International. Is something that other countries are looking at and say, wow, that's really something that Romanians did very nice. Yeah.
Is the banking sector still offering a fancy career path? Because it was very fashionable to be in bank a couple of years ago. 20 years ago, actually, in Romania at least. And after that, the bank started to restructure after the financial crisis. They started to consolidate their business, and they hired very on a slow rate. How would you convince a young professional to start his or her career in a bank, and why?
Yeah. So we do grow our teams systematically. We are hiring nearly 500 people every single year.
Okay.
And there will be many reasons why I would say you should join us. So if I would say, are you interested in new technologies, but applied at the real scale? Yeah, you can go to work for some technical company, startup, and try to have your product for 100 people. You can join us and try to develop IT product or AI product that will be served to 2.3 million clients at real scale. And this is fantastic. This is different learning. We are investing millions to our education and training of our people, to their expertise. So I would say, yeah, you join us because, look, we are growing platform. If you want to learn, this is one of the three pillars of our DNA, growing our expertise. So there's a lot of things around technology, but applied in real scale and the real world. There is lots of about financial consulting, because it's not anymore being a banker with doing two products, like open current account and give you a loan, that's it. But yeah, now it's about financial advisory and supported with the new technology. So it's much broader spectrum of discussions. So it's another interesting career path. And Actually, we have lots of expert roles. If you look at our risk teams, treasury teams, there is so much modeling, there is so much, lots of mathematics, how complex models they have to build, how much we are working in very sophisticated scenarios. Sometimes I would say even too sophisticated, but like technically wise, it's absolutely amazing.
I have the sense that you are involved in seeing what's happening there, and you're also curious. I don't know how involved are you in the recruitment process for your team, but I would like to know what are you looking for when you want to have a new member of your team? What kind of behaviors or attitudes are you looking for the ideal candidate, let's say?
When I look at us, so when we were defining what is our culture, what we stand for, and what we pamper because we like it. And it's actually three things. We like expertise. Really, there is a big obsession in the organization about having expertise, building expertise, growing your expertise. We like a lot growth as such. Like we are competitive, so that there is a growth, the ambition, grow, discussing how we can grow and compete. And we like working in the teams. So if we look at the organization, it's a rather set of the teams that are supporting each other inside of the team, taking care about learning, about winning or losing together, and so on. Mm-hmm. So when we are looking for somebody, we are looking for somebody who resonates with these three things, somebody who has the aspiration to learn and to keep learning and maintaining expertise and gaining it, has the aspiration to grow and the mindset to grow, to move things, and cooperate, work in the teams. So be good member of the team that it's all the parts that belong to that.
Mm-hmm. Is there any leader that you admire, and who or he or she is, and why?
No, when I think about other leaders for me and myself, for me it's a bit more like a Lego. Mm-hmm. I like bits and pieces from other people. And it doesn't need to be even a person that I admire as such, but there's a certain capability or skill which I find inspiring, and then I'm bringing it to my Lego, or I'm trying to bring it to my Lego. So many people around, if I would need to mention, like a nice example for me was a former CEO of the RBI Group, Johann Strobel, because he had fantastic listening skills. So he was always sitting on the meetings and on his iPad taking notes.
Okay.
And I was wondering, like, Johann, like, wow, so many notes when you read them. And he told me, I'm not reading them. This is my way how I deeply listen.
Okay.
It was fascinating, and he was a really good listener. Yeah, so for me, but going back to your question, for me it's rather Lego, how I basically bring things that inspire me.
Okay, and what habits do you have in a meeting where you are listening, let's say?
No, for me...
Do you take notes or not?
I don't take... I was trying to replicate that. It doesn't work. That's that doesn't fit me.
Okay.
And the reason is that I like listen with and absorb the full context.
Okay.
Because that's one of the things that I believe it's very rich. When you just don't listen to what is being said, but what is the emotion in the room, what is the atmosphere. So when I know that I'm really listening, if I'm connected to both, to what is being said and what is being felt in the room.
Aren't you know one of the biggest issue in corporate life, let's say, is that we have endless meetings. How many meetings do you have in a day or in a week, and how do you take time to think between them,
I'm very strategic on allocating my calendar.
Okay.
And I actually even every quarter sit down and reverse engineer how did I spend my time and how I want to allocate my time in next quarter. So I'm very systematic on it. So my calendar is driving my real-time allocation. Then answering your question on thinking, I do plan for it. It's blocked in my calendar. I have blocked time for thinking. I have block time for learning, because it would not happen if I would not block it. So, and then outside of that, I do work in with teams. So if I'm alone, that typically would be a wrong time, because so I do work with teams, but at the same time, it's still at a filter where I should be, where I should not be.
Mm-hmm. So I think it's your discipline is bringing us back to another topic. I know that you are very fan of sports, and one particular sport, karate. What did you learn from karate, and how do you practice it regularly, or if you can tell us about that? And what did you learn from karate and you apply in leading the bank?
Mm-hmm. When I speak about karate, it is for me not sport. I practice it as a martial art, which is a huge difference, because the sport discipline has certain setup which is happening only on the sport. I'm actually doing martial art, so karate is on the backbone. It is already 35 years continuously, and I do train at least twice, 3 times per week. What is very applicable is exactly this the ability to think about in the context. Because if you are a martial art practitioner, the most important thing is to understand the context. Because in reality, in real life, many things can be prevented, and many things can be de-escalated. The physical part is often the last resource type of action. So I'm always saying that the best martial artists are the ones that never need to fight on the street, because the first 2 layers are very rich and are able to bring them. So then going to my corporate life, that's exactly what I like to apply, to understand the context, to see things in the context, like this contextual awareness, and then also ability to de-escalate. The fighting is the last resource.
Mm-hmm. How do you think your colleagues describe you when you are not in the room as a leader?
Didn't think about it a long time. I really got this question for sure historically, but I would hope it changed as I do change. I like things being pragmatic, so very concrete, not conceptual, but very concrete.
Mm-hmm.
I like things that are moving in a systematic way. Pas cu pas, sistematic și repede.
Și repede. Pas cu pas și sistematic și repede, ok.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. If you would have in front of you the Zdenek from 20 years ago, what would be the advice that you would give him?
So, call more often to your mother and father.
Okay.
And if I look backwards on the 20 years, I would say stick to the intensity of learning. So keep learning, and keep broadening your experience, because that will make you rich for sure. And maybe compared to last 20 years, find more time for your friends.
Okay. Okay, and one last question, maybe what book or movie would you recommend to a young person that aspire to have a career in banking, and maybe aspire to become a leader in a bank sometime?
I don't think there is anything that will be so specific for banking. In terms of for a young person, I would say that the very first part of their life should be rather to invest a lot into themselves and ability to work in the team. So rather invest into their own expertise and ability to cooperate. The leadership is something that will come later. That also has to be learned. I don't think you can do everything at the same time. Which, by the way, it was also for me one of the interesting learnings. I remember I was sitting at 3 o'clock in the morning. At that time I was working on the Wall Street for a big international bank. And then I remember my realization was but the problems we are solving here, like however it looks now here fancy, and at Wall Street, wow, it's just same everywhere. It's like the bread is very similar everywhere. The complexity is not coming with different environments and so on. The biggest complexity is always coming from being able to manage elite people. So that was the moment, because I was manager already at the time. I was like, wow, I should invest much more here. This is the next big thing, complexity, how to lead people. Okay. But I would say it comes in stages. Then was stage 1, and then maybe you are ready to invest more into stage 2, but it will be connected over time.
Fast, but not as fast.
Yeah, systematically.
Systematically, okay. Okay. And regarding Romanian economy, how did you see the development of Romanian economy in the past 4 or 5 years, and how do you see the future of our economy?
There is one specific, I would say, characteristic that people in Romania are much more prone to have volatility in discussing the what will happen. Mm-hmm. So when I came, and then it was always like a bad news, and it never happened, and there was like again bad news and never happened. And I realized it's a combination of two things. On one hand, there's this exaggeration that is part of the life, and one has to kind of correct for it. But at the same time, that economy and people are very resilient. So it's one of the very big strongholds. And I see it even on the level of the companies, that many companies can do things because people are have such an ability to activate themselves, that I would say on other markets the companies would suffer much more than here. So there is a big resilience. So combining these two, I'm much less looking in the future. I'm taking with some correction all the negativity about what will happen in the future. And second, I have a big belief in Romanian economy and in Romanians, in their resilience and ability to correct and recover.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Mr. Romanek, for the interview.
Thank you very much for having me.
And see you on the next episode of Cariere, Journal de Leadership podcast.